Week 2 of the NFL is here. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to give you predictions for every single game in under 5 minutes. First, we're going to break down the Ravens at the Bengals. The Ravens are super banged up. From a betting perspective, I would stay away from this game, but I think the Ravens narrowly edge out a Bengals team that's not firing on all cylinders with a suspect offensive line, 21-17. Then we go on to the Seahawks playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Detroit had a great opening week win over the Chiefs, and the Seahawks look ungood, to say the least. Geno Smith and that offensive line struggled all week versus the Rams. They came out to an early lead but blew it, and they were shut out in the second half of that game. The Lions defense looked up to par. They look pretty good. Hutchinson looked really good. And Jared Goff in that offense is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. They were under the radar, one of the best teams on offense in the NFL. I'm going Lions 27-14. Then we go on to the Texans versus the Colts. The bums versus the blind. I like the Colts here narrowly. I think Richardson gets it done 17-14. Next, we're going to move on to the Chicago Bears playing in Tampa against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers narrowly escaped the Vikings last week, 20-17. Baker Mayfield looked okay, but he's got great weapons in Evans and Godwin. So as the season progresses, I look at Tampa Bay as a 8-10 win team. We'll see how Baker Mayfield grows. Then we have the Bears, who looked like the worst team in the NFL last week against the Green Bay Packers, losing 38-20. The Bears are just the Bears. They're so bad everywhere that there's no glimmer of hope for the Bears. They got blown out by a young Packers team that's very inexperienced. Yikes. But I don't think we see a lot of offense in this game at all. I'm going 17-10 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then we move on to one of my favorite games of the week, the Jacksonville Jaguars going on the road to play Kansas City. Kansas City has Jones back, who signed a one-year deal with a lot of incentives. And then we have Travis Kelce. Hopefully will be playing back at the tight end position for Patrick Mahomes, who really needs Kelce to be there because his wide receiving core leaves a lot to be desired. Kansas City playing at home pulls it out narrowly. The Jaguars and that offense are so goddamn good, but I think Mahomes barely gets it done. 27-24 Chiefs. Then we move on to a game of uncertain teams. We don't really know who the Packers and the Falcons are going to be this year, but the Packers looked really, really good last week. They beat a crappy team in the Bears 38-20. So this will be another, test for them to see, can the Packers put together a 9 or 10 win season? We'll have to see, but I like the Packers to win this game 23-20. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Raiders. Josh Allen probably played the worst game of his career in that loss to an Aaron Rodgers-less Jets. I still can't believe they lost that game. Josh Allen seemed like he was just throwing the ball down the field, closing his eyes, into double coverage. His decision-making was so bad. All he had to do was not give them the ball, and then they easily win that game. But Jimmy Garoppolo looked pretty good for the Raiders, but that defense besides Max Crosby isn't the best. I think Josh Allen and Diggs go off this week. I'm looking for them to come up with a big win, 27-17 Bills. And then we move on to the Titans, who looked like an abomination last week. Ryan Tannehill looked like he never played football before, and Justin Herbert and the Chargers got in that shootout with Tua and ended up losing. But Herbert and the Chargers are going to be okay. The defense was not as good as expected. Tua absolutely went off. Tyreek Hill and Waddle were pretty much unguardable in that. I think they're cooked. I think Tannehill's cooked. I don't think Derrick Henry wants to play there anymore. I think that team is a sinking ship. The Chargers win this game 23-14. And then we move on to the battle of the California teams. San Francisco 49ers versus the Rams. Stafford played really well last week, I'm not going to lie. But that defense, besides Aaron Donald, is not going to hold up for the remainder of the year. I promise you that. Especially against San Francisco and probably the best offense in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy. Oh my God. And their defense with Bosa is an absolute nightmare. I think LA is going to get sacked. I'm going 5 sacks again for San Francisco, who sacked Kenny Pickett 5 times last week. I think this is going to be a blowout. I'm going 35-17 San Francisco. I'm going over my time. New York versus the Cardinals. Who cares? Giants 17-14. The Cowboys are going to blow out the Jets. It's not even going to be close. 28-10 Cowboys, Broncos, Washington, another who cares. I think the Broncos get their first win in the Sean Payton era, 21-17. Dolphins, Patriots, this game is going to be absolutely incredible. I don't know if I like Mac Jones enough. I think Tua gets it done, 28-21 Dolphins. And then we go Saints, Panthers, another game. Who cares? The Saints looked pretty decent last week, so I'm going to go with them, ride them against the inexperienced Panthers team. Saints, 29-24. Then we're going to go Browns, Steelers. Wow, this is going to be a really fun game. The Browns look really good last week, man. Deshaun Watson looks like he's finding his groove. The Browns defense is great. Myles Garrett is an absolute beast. And Kenny Pickett looked terrible and lost. Browns, 17-10. Like and subscribe.